rise, won't be divided, rise, with Spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors around us rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise, fighting for life we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with Spirit to guide us, rise.
Good morning. Welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Tara Sowers, she, her, and I will be assisting with the service today. I'd like to start with just a gentle reminder to please silence your cell phones. In today's service, we will be continuing our focus on paying attention as our theme for the month of March. Last week was about paying attention to ourselves, how we care for ourselves and attend to our own needs. And today, we will focus on paying attention to each other. Paying attention to one another has become a rare and meaningful act in a world saturated with competing demands for our focus. In his book, Siren's Call, Chris Hayes describes attention as a finite resource that is viewed as a valuable commodity. We might find ourselves constantly pulled towards spectacle and outrage, often driven by online algorithms. Amidst all this, choosing to turn our undivided attention to one another becomes almost radical. It means resisting the distraction and instead offering intentional presence to one another. When we pay attention to each other, we're pushing back against the forces that fragment our awareness. The author of Siren's Call suggests that what captures our attention ultimately shapes our values and our society. So when we direct that attention toward one another with curiosity, with empathy, and with care, we are reshaping the world. So let's reshape this world together, starting today. VUU is a welcoming congregation. If there are any visitors with us today and you are so inclined, please feel free to stand so that we can welcome you. Do we have anyone visiting? Thank you. We're delighted to be together today. Our community is rooted in love, inclusion, and justice, and we're excited to share this space together. After the service, please feel free to grab a snack and a beverage and then join our welcome circle on the east side of the sanctuary next to the welcome circle sign. Is Doug here today? Doug will be facilitating our welcome circle today, which is a friendly gathering where you can meet members and ask questions and learn more about VUU and Unitarian Universalism. To help us stay connected, we invite each visiting adult to please take a moment to sign in. Can you go back one slide to the sign-in code on the screen? The sign-in QR code is also available on the back of the VUU brochure. And now let's extend a welcome to our online viewers viewing us on YouTube. We can't see them, but they can see us, so let's give them a wave. All right, and now this Sunday, March 29th, 2026, pastoral care will be provided by Carl Anderson in the sanctuary. Carl Anderson, please stand up. And Dan Schulte online. They will be responsible for pastoral care the following week. If you're viewing on YouTube, please be aware that you cannot send a private message on YouTube, so please email the pastoral care group, and anyone can do this at any time if you need a listening ear. The email address is pastoralcare@vuu.org. Caring Neighbors works to foster a loving and caring community in which VUU members and friends nurture and support each other through life's joys and sorrows. If you've recently had surgery, or if you're moving, or if something wonderful or terrible has happened in your life, you can reach out to Caring Neighbors and we can be of service to each other. You can reach Caring Neighbors at caringneighbors@vuu.org. And now let's light our chalice. Please join me in the chalice lighting words. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Here within these walls, here in this community of love and justice, we pause in our busy lives to consider what is worthy of our deepest yearnings. In the time we are given here, may we pay attention to wonder of each moment. May we grieve what is lost, and may we be grateful for our life on this beautiful earth. May we prepare ourselves for the work love calls us to do. Just as we are, may we be the beloved community.
Please rise in body or spirit for our opening song. This is number 153 in the gray hymnal. This is a song of the civil rights movement, adapted from an African-American spiritual by a jailed freedom rider at the time. So please sing Out with Gusto.
And it was
stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind.
And it was
stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my
Y'all are so warmed up. I'm Rev. Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan, she, they. I'm the settled minister here. It is my pleasure to welcome us into this time for all ages. And I'm going to invite Wilblis to come join me in a moment. But if you are young or young at heart and you would like to come hang out with us up front, please feel free to come join us. The ritual of showing how tall you are compared to the minister continues. I am wearing heels today. Thank you very much, Julia. All right. Look, see, some of them are still shorter than me. I mean, yes. All right. It's like 2 more years on that one. Okay. Well, we call this time a time for all ages. Not just a kid's time, although sometimes we totally focus on you guys. And sometimes it's a story, right? Last week we told a story or a conversation or a shared experience. Sometimes it's written by someone else and it follows the theme that we're using for the month. And sometimes it's a ritual, like a while back you had an OWL graduation. Maybe some of you remember that. Our kids who are in the OWL class graduated and we recognize them. Sometimes I'll use this time for a new member ceremony. So if folks who are joining, we like to recognize you and, put you up here and give you a rose and welcome you more formally. But today I invited our new faith formation director, Wilblis, to share a gratitude with all of you and an experience they've had that has connected them more deeply to Unitarian Universalism and to all of you. So this month we've been exploring paying attention, and this sharing is an example of how we pay attention to each other. So I'm going to invite Wilblis to come up. And it's also how I pay attention to staff, how the congregation pays attention to staff, and how staff pays attention to all of you. So we're all in this together, right? So I'm going to let Wilblis take it from here.
Good morning. Hello.
Here, you want to just...
My name is Wilblis. I use they, them pronouns. And oh, thank you so much. I want to summarize. I've been here for about 4 months now. And I just kind of want to summarize my experience and end it with something that we can all say together that I'm hoping you find as affirming as I do. So, once upon a time, 4 months ago, it all happened so fast. My hire, Reverend Sarah's sabbatical, and then me leaving for a week, 2 days after Reverend Sarah came back into the fold. In between, I have heard, "I am so glad you are here," 100 times, each time adding to my joy. Many of you shared gifts, wisdom, skills, inner child stories, and other ways to relate. There was so much here holding my heart to the fire, and so many people I needed to be me at home in order for me to leave. Before Reverend Sarah left for sabbatical, they said, "I think you will want to go to this, about finding our way, a retreat for BIPOC, UU, former and current religious professionals, and our BIPOC loved ones." BIPOC meaning Black, Indigenous, people of color. So, in summary, so this was last week. 60 people from all over the country shared COVID testing status, masked up for the most part, and took other precautions. Probably 40 of us were gay or queer, and 25 of us were gender expansive, trans, or non-binary. These are my numbers. This matters because I felt whole, I felt seen, I felt cared for, and I felt safe. It was extraordinary. I cried tears of joy and grief every day during this week. I had no idea how much I was holding, and I am still crying a lot, and it's okay to cry. Some deep wounds are being tended to. So I just want to thank you all deeply for this time that I had. I learned so much about the heart of ministry and the pulse of justice work in UU congregations across the country. I learned about certifications, trainings, community gatherings, networks, and a plethora of resources, starting with the people who were so ready to love me. I was reacquainted with the intrinsic belief, I am loved no matter what, and nothing can take that from me. Love filled in all the gaps. I saw it happening in front of my eyes. It was a fluid, full love holding each other's backs. So now that I have shared what I saw, I invite you to practice with us. Would you like to practice with me?
I would love to practice with you.
Repeat after me. I am loved no matter what, and nothing can take that from me.
I am loved no matter what, and nothing can take that from me.
Love fills in all the gaps.
Love fills in all the gaps.
A fluid, full love holding each other's backs.
Holding each other's backs.
Now ask your neighbor if you can put your hand on their back if you'd like to, and allow yourself to feel supported.
Yeah, it's okay with me. You don't have to if your neighbor doesn't want you to. Ask first.
Thank you so much for doing that practice with me. And now you have it for yourself, and take it with you.
Awesome. We got your backs, is what I hear. Awesome. Thank you. We're going to sing you to your class, and I'm going to grab your candles. You need help turning it on? You got it? We come to a time in our service that we think of as a centering time. And I just want to invite all of us to take a moment to take that deep breath. There's always a little shift in the room as the youngest among us, most of them anyway, slip out to go into their classrooms. I want to take a moment before I offer our reading for centering to just notice some of the things that were on my heart and mind this week. Maybe they were for you. And maybe you'll notice what's on your heart and mind that I don't speak into the room. You may want to light a candle, or we have a fountain. You can add a little drop of water to it. I think of this as the living waters of this congregation, and if you want to add to that in some way, you can. There's some sand and stones if you want to move them or hold them. Some of us need something tactile when we're dealing with life. This week on the 31st, we'll be celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility as a larger community. I think of this as an opportunity to love up the folks in our lives whose very existence has been weaponized, and to celebrate the beauty of living authentically. Many of you were involved in protests. Just give me a little wave if you were out there yesterday. Woohoo. Millions of people showed up to counter our current administration and the cruelty of many of its policies. One of which may have been on your heart, I know it is on mine, is the war in the Middle East and all of the just violence and destruction that people are living with day to day. And I know, because many of you reached out to me, you reach out to the pastoral care team, that there are folks who are with us every week online who are living with long-term, possibly chronic illnesses, or sometimes just temporary situations like your little one got sick, or you aren't feeling great, or you slept in, all kinds of reasons. Maybe you're trying to get work done, and so you're joining us online. Sometimes people pick up the feed later on during the week and find us at a different time and day even. But I know that there are temporary situations and ongoing situations that keep folks from being with us in person. I just want to remind us to hold those folks in our hearts. We wave to them, but also I invite us to hold them here. For the Christian world, today is Palm Sunday. Admittedly, this is actually one of my favorite of the Christian holidays. I love the story of Jesus' parade on a donkey to counter the cruelty of empire and proclaim the kingdom of God. And Jews celebrate Passover this week, and leading into Easter. For the Christians, there's just a lot going on, both to celebrate and to hold in our hearts as grief or concern this week. And so I offer this prayer for attention to one another, but a reminder that last week we started with ourselves, and you should always start with yourself. In this room and beyond it, ground of all being, we are learning to see each other. Not the quick assessments, not the categories, but the full, complicated truth of each and every life. Help us to offer the gift of undivided presence, to listen without planning our reply, to make space for stories that take time to unfold, to ask, who is missing here and why? Maybe we need to reach out to them this week, find out what's going on. How can we be there for them? When we accompany those in pain, keep us from the tyranny of fixing. Teach us to stay while the crisis passes by, to show up in the unglamorous middle. May we become communities where every voice matters, where margins become centers, where attention itself is love made visible. So if you want to do one of those rituals to connect with yourself in this moment, we invite you to do so as we have a little music.
Love is little.
This morning and all mornings, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delights and our pains. We are called to understand and cherish ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, to know ourselves as loving and worthy of love. In paying attention to our lives, we give thanks for all that is good in them and work to make the best decisions we can to help us live fully and joyfully. Today and all days, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the people in our lives, to celebrate their joys with them, and to tend to them in their struggles. We are called to bring attention, we are called to bring our compassion, kindness, and patience to our relationships, even as we are grateful for the compassion, kindness, and patience others show to us. In paying attention to the people in our lives, we give thanks to their presence and work to support them to the best of their abilities. Throughout our lives, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and will never know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with dignity and worth. In all that we do, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the natural world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks for the ways that it sustains and enriches our lives, and we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live, and so that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts. Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our society, and the world.
A new lens that I'm trying on is to shift the phrase paying attention to giving attention. The gift of attention is a slowing down that lets us let go of a narrative or a story about someone or something and listen for something else to emerge. A friend recently pointed out that the English word attention comes from the French word attendre, which means to wait. Paying attention to ourselves, which I reflected on last week, is a gateway to our capacity to be with others, to gift them our attention. Now, I think about this as a ministry of attention, and people often receive this gift as a miracle because the gift of attention often feels miraculous, especially if you have felt invisible, silenced, or harmed. When we know someone is listening and we feel something shift between us, both parties have room to choose change. And when this happens, I personally experience a kind of expansiveness. It feels like my actual soul gets to stretch out and shake out and loosen up. And loosen some of the places where I'm carrying pain and tend to them because I feel held by the gift of attention. Now, I think most of us, as Tara said, are hungry for this move from a transactional, even extractive attention to a relational attention. We are literally inundated with transactional attention. Our phones and literally all of our devices are designed to extract our attention. Social media in particular, of course, does this. But there are many interactions during the day where we encounter the extractive attention instead of gifted attention, which is why the gift of attention feels so miraculous. Now, hearing our name spoken feels good. So knowing someone's name and using it can be a gift. Having someone use the pronouns we've asked for feels good. And conversely, getting someone's name wrong, which we do sometimes, or their pronouns wrong, it doesn't feel good, right? Somebody calls you the wrong name, you're like, that's not my name. So having someone notice and listen to our story, ask questions that are open and without any kind of agenda, no fixing, that feels good. And giving our attention to other people and to situations also asks us to be open to learning something we didn't already know. We're literally making room for our own growth. So on my sabbatical, I had opportunities to practice giving my attention to other people and situations. From simple moments listening to people talk about their lives and their dreams, to more challenging moments when I was confronted with the harm and impacts of systems that were designed to elicit pain or dominate people and prevent transformation. And I found myself giving my attention to stories of people whose lives were sometimes invisibly interwoven with mine. And it wasn't my job to do anything in these contexts. I was just present, which is another kind of gift. And one of the experiences I had was actually watching and listening to my own daughter give her attention to people we met on our trip and to the people in the village she lived in. From the front seat of whatever van or bus or car we were in, she was gently curious. She asked drivers and other people we met in Costa Rica about their knowledge of a place, their advice, and often the conversation would wander into more personal territory. Often her gift of attention became a shared gift. The folks we met this way were sometimes surprised that she was so bilingual, but also surprised when she didn't interact with them as a service or just a means to an end. She genuinely wanted to learn from them, and she treated each of them with respect and care, offering an openness to their questions too, about where she learned to speak Spanish so well. Everyone asked her that. Why she was in Costa Rica. They were intrigued by the answer to that question and what she was discovering about their country. And from the back seat, I listened to so many conversations. I was moved by her facility of giving her attention to others. She noticed what they were curious about. She often learned why they had taken that particular job as a driver or a guide or at the hostel, and what else they were up to in life. What were their dreams? And as they opened up, we often heard and exchanged stories and perspectives about political leaders, education, preserving natural resources, and even their country's history. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, yes, Reverend Sarah, you had conversations with people on your trip. And as we used to say in the day, big whoop, right? What's so special about that? But friends, real conversations without agendas or fixing, they're becoming extinct in our world, I think. Making room for someone to fully be themselves, different, similar, human, instead of the flattened versions of what we hope for them to be or want them to be. That feels like a really rare experience, right? Even in my most intimate relationships, I find I'm often not giving my attention the way I would like to imagine myself giving. And if you have family members like mine, they're pretty good about reminding me to put my phone down. Did you hear what I just said? But lots of things prevent us from really paying attention, right? When we visited the site of Allie's Peace Corps work, my whole purpose was just to witness her, to see her in this place, to meet the community that she's serving, to understand her work and meet the people that are important. But it was also to be a guest, to allow others to care for me and to show me their community. So I gave my attention to the people and the place itself, to how it was organized and made, to how people greeted each other, to the activities people engaged in. The most common thing for people to say to each other is, pura vida. And they might say pura vida for an exclamation of something great and beautiful, or kind of a lament like, well, that's life. Life throws you curveballs, pura vida. The place Allie is staying in is a very small village. And the home of Doña Melba, her host, reveals the attention that she has spent with the help of family to create a little oasis in the middle of the village. Her polished concrete floors, the rocking chairs and shaded table area on the patio, the verdant garden full of plants she is cultivating, and the way that she's curated items for her walls, and even the way she's found uses for old cabinets. Her washing machine and clothesline that bring income into her home, and the delicious meals she made for us. Even her desire to offer us nourishing food. All of these details made me feel so grateful for the woman sharing her home with my daughter. And while Allie pays her rent, there's a transaction. They also cook and clean together. They watch telenovelas together in Melba's room very frequently. And then they go visit Melba's family together a couple miles away, including the aging parents that Melba and her many siblings trade off spending a day a week with, so that there's always somebody with the elders to make sure they're okay. One afternoon while I was there, we joined Doña Melba at her parents' farm up the road. She and her siblings were celebrating her mother's 90th birthday, and they had organized a little party on the patio, where most of life takes place in a Costa Rican home. The patio was packed with chairs and even a little small bed, tables, places to gather and talk and rest. It's a wraparound patio. Each guest arrived with part of the party. It wasn't already set up. They came in with their different pieces and set them up. Decorations, a cake, a crown for her to wear. It took a while somebody even brought a special shirt for her to match the crown and the decorations. It was super sweet. And a group of the women went back and helped her get dressed with her crown. It's so sweet. And it took a while for everything to be assembled. And Allie, she made her way among the guests. These are people she knows. She was checking in on them. She introduced me to Melba's dad, who's in his mid-90s. He's recently just passed. And the other siblings and nephews and nieces that had all gathered. So I kind of made my course around the patio. Allie's been folded into this family because she intuitively engages these elders with respect and care and interest. And they shared little bits of chisme. This is kind of family and village gossip and news. It's kind of almost like a currency, if you have good chisme or not. And while I was there, I learned that the land that we were on was once part of a large network of farms that stretched out hundreds of acres. And this family is one of the oldest and largest families in the village. So later, when we walked the farm that is still there, we found chickens and little baby chicks and a garden. And there were dogs that ran along beside us. I guess they were hoping for scraps or maybe a little pet or something, I don't know. And, the farm, like Melba's parents, is aging and maybe a little tired, but it still holds life and laughter and connection. So back in the village, I noticed that homes are creatively built and decorated with whatever people could afford and find. There is no HOA. But there is a group of people who meet monthly to talk about the town's needs and to make plans for those needs. And Allie frequently meets with this group. It's part of her service. They worry about the future of their young people, the care of their elders, and the needs of the students from the 2 schools that welcome elementary and secondary students, which is where Allie works. And while I was there and we were taking a tour of the property, the office for the school was getting a fresh coat of paint that was much needed. And I'll just tell you that to my eyes, the school buildings looked maybe like a place of desolation or neglect in comparison to schools in the United States. But as I listened to the stories and met people, it was clear to me that these are actually places of magic, transforming a drab and underfunded space desperately in need of, pretty much everything, into a place of learning and joy and friendship and possibility. There's no cafeteria. There's an outdoor place where kids eat. And some kids go home at the lunch hour, but instead, a woman down the street gets paid to make and deliver lunch for many of the students. And when I met her, she proudly shared with us her upgraded kitchen space for making these lunches. So we got a little tour of the big pots she had and the bigger stove and all the things that she had put together for that. This is, by the way, the job that Doña Melba actually retired from. So she was very central to the life of this village in many ways. And they have a school band, and I don't know what you picture when you picture a band, but the school band is actually made up of xylophones and percussion instruments, which seemed to me at first like a pretty narrow set of instruments until I heard one such band joyfully performing in another small town. So they may have lacked the wind instruments I expected. I played trombone in band. But they filled it with the sounds of their own voices, with chants and melody, with dance. They actually had, rhythm movements they did with the drums. And they did it with such joy. I was hooked. I was like, yes, that is a band. Love it. Now, Allie's in charge of the curriculum for enrichment and fun. And the kids there look forward to games and art projects and other off-curriculum lessons and experiences that the gringa is bringing to them. So after listening to what kids wanted to learn and do before creating her project, she has brought in new sports like volleyball. They all wanted to learn about it. And American football. They pretty much just throw an American football around, but she got one and made sure they had something to play with. And other new experiences. It's a really dynamic place. She's learning from them, they're learning from her, and the love and care is evident as we walk through town. And I watch people greet her, ask her about me, I'm very clearly her mom, and invite us into homes and conversations on the porch. When I give my attention, I see a village that is challenged by economics and social changes, but brimming with human capacity and care. And they are teaching me to see beyond the differences and to enjoy the surprises. Attend. wait. Listen and learn and let this story unfold. Give your attention and something new emerges from the picture. In returning to Phoenix, I looked for ways to hold on to this orientation of giving my attention to people and situations and letting go of my own agenda and distractions as much as I could. I was still on sabbatical, but I was invited to visit the Eloy Detention Center with a woman whose partner has been languishing there for over a year. She invited me to go as a public leader who could use that experience to share with others and support their fight to get her released. So while I went there with that intention, I brought my attention with me from a different orientation, more accompaniment and pastoral presence. Now, we spent a long time in the waiting area with other families waiting to see their loved ones at Eloy, which meant we had an opportunity to hear other people's stories. There were young children there with their grandparents waiting to see their mom. There was an ex-husband who lives in Florida waiting to see his former spouse who had no one else in this country to come visit her, so he traveled all the way across the country to be that person. He came all that way even though they were no longer married because he worried about her and he didn't want her to be alone. And when we finally got to visit Yari, the woman we were there to see, we spent more than an hour with her, listening to her tell us about the conditions there, her own health struggles, and offering love and presence while we could. Yari has a form of blood cancer and she's not getting the medical attention she needs. Her health has deteriorated a lot since she was first detained and forced to leave her life to be there. And her partner, Sonia, has visited her. And I want you to imagine this because it's you know how long it is to get to Eloy? It's like a 2 hour and a half-ish drive to get there, right? It's out in the country, south of here. And then you have to wait, like you sign in and you wait and you wait and you wait, and they only let so many people in because there's only so much space to hold people who are visiting. She has gone every Sunday because men get to see people on Saturday, women get to see people on Sunday, minus only 1 or 2 for over a year since Yari has been detained. Just every Sunday, that's her life. So as I looked around to the others visiting their loved ones, they gather in this kind of small hallway with little tables. I saw the same elements of deep care and worry and connection. In this place, the only things we could offer was the gift of our attention. And many immigrants in detention have no one to visit them, and they are far away from beloveds, sometimes states away from beloveds. And many feel forgotten and invisible. They might even speak a language that nobody in Eloy speaks. So they don't even have folks who speak their own language to talk to. So I made a vow to make sure that I didn't forget them and to share my experience there with whoever I could. When we give our attention, our heart often follows close behind. Yeah. I learned that when we pay attention, things are available to us that weren't available before. And that's the magic. That's the real miracle. There's a generosity of presence, a gift that allows places and people to come alive and to transform. A dusty, aging schoolhouse becomes a vibrant home to the aspirations of youth. An hour of listening becomes an anchor to staying alive, a wider circle of love and the possibility of liberation. A humble patio holds the heart of a family and its stories. Like the French attendre, our gift of attention allows us to wait and see what happens, to let the story come to us through the eyes and words of someone else. When we don't rush, extract, or demand, we make space for something else to emerge. Our capacity to be with each other and ourselves is something we can hold and pass to one another, something we can tend to. The needs of the world sometimes feel voracious. The school, the aging parent, the loved one stuck in detention, the country outgrowing its infrastructure, these needs can overwhelm us. And learning to slow down and give our attention to each other, we find that what we need is always right here. And it's always available. We find ways to move forward and do the necessary work because our attention has reminded us of who we are and who we want to be, of what it means to care for and to be cared for. Everything we need to transform our world is created from giving our attention to each other. Wait. Breathe. Listen. Behold the magic. Blessed be. Attend.
As we focus today on giving our attention to one another, let's now turn our attention to this community and offer support for the activities of this congregation. Will the ushers please come into the aisles to receive this week's offering? Thank you for your generosity.
We have an offertory that's actually in our gray hymnal, number 151. I wish I knew how. It was composed in part by Billy Taylor, who was a multiple award-winning jazz composer in the 50s and 60s and a real activist in the civil rights movement. Some of the lyrics may not apply to you. Please treat them respectfully. Please rise in body or spirit after the rusher comes by.
Say
Go forth from here with this blessing.
May you see clearly without cynicism.
May you witness pain without looking away.
May you notice wonder even when despair makes more sense.
Attention is both an act of resistance and an act of reverence.
Choose it constantly.
Practice it daily,
And come back when you need renewal.
so you can choose it once again.
Amen.
We have a new song for closing, new to all of us, which we've just learned today. It's from the Justice Choir's songbook called Rise. So please rise in body or spirit. There are a lot of words, but you'll catch on. At least join on the chorus. And if it's not perfect, that doesn't matter, as long as you're singing with energy and force.
I will rise with all my daughters. I will rise against my foes. I will rise with all the mothers. I will carry all their woes. I will rise in our freedom. I will rise amazed with fears. I will rise against all hatred while my eyes are veiled in tears. I will rise with religious freedom for a rich diversity. I will rise from all the weary, for each lonely refugee. I will work for all our women who deserve equal pay. I will work for all our children who are waiting a better day. Sisters, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. I will rise with love and justice that we see a better day. I will rise in peace and service for our world in disarray. I will rise with all my brothers for all those who cannot stand. I will rise with all our fathers who have lost their home and land. I will rise and build up bridges for this broken world we see. I will tear down walls between us and divide you and me. Let us go stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. Stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. I will rise.
We began and ended with rising. And I remind you that next weekend we will have an Easter brunch, and I've put out a word for folks to help us provide some of that. So if you're interested, look in happenings. There's a little sign up. We'll have an egg hunt after service for all the littles and some of the biggers. And all of us will get to watch and participate. The candy that melts will be inside in baggies that kids can pick up after the egg hunt. If you want to help fill eggs after service, we're going to go over to the other side and do that. So join us if you're interested. Won't you join me in these closing words as we extinguish the chalice? Though we extinguish the chalice, our connection to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world with compassion until we will meet again. And I will also just add that there's a couple ways you can contribute to some immigrant families that are in need of help. The flyers are on a table back here by the welcome table. All right, go in peace, stay for coffee and welcome. Welcome circle over on the east side. See you next week. Enjoy spring.